Hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this month's episode of Pegasus. I am your host, Dr. Brittany Moore Henderson. Joining me today is Dr. Pauline Prince, staff psychologist and coordinator of clinical services here at Mississippi State College of Veterinary Medicine. Thank you for joining me today, Dr. Prince.
Well, thank you for asking.
Yes. So, Dr. Prince, just to get into things, I know that you are from Mississippi. Well, you have gone to school here at Mississippi State.
Correct.
And of course you left and came back. What brought you back here to Mississippi State?
Well, as you mentioned, I am an alumni. So is my husband. So my husband and I met here. We both graduated. He accepted a job in Maryland. We went to Maryland for 40 years. And when we got ready to look for a place to retire, we both decided that we could come back to Starkville. And I stayed retired about 6 weeks and accepted this job here at CVM.
Well, I'm glad that you accepted the job here. 6 weeks, little retirement, but it got you here. So we're glad to have you here.
And this is a very cool place for my profession to work. Y'all do some pretty amazing things here. Every day I get up and learn something really cool.
Exactly. So, well, I'm glad of that then. So touching a little bit on that, you have it's been mostly human, working with not veterinary students. So how have that being able to work within the veterinary profession with us? How do you believe, what's the changes, I guess?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, I guess the pathway to getting here. First of all, there's not a training program for psychologists in veterinary medicine. I'd like to change that. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But so my path here was a little unique. I got my bachelor's and master's here at State in educational psych. And then I went to the University of Maryland and got a doctorate in school psychology. I then eventually went on to become a board certified neuropsychologist. I practice every day somewhere in that intersection between clinical neuropsychology and sport and performance psychology. Mm-hmm. The clinical neuropsychology provides an understanding of how our brain works and why we're experiencing anxiety or depression at any given moment, and leads to some evidence-based strategies. So when I talk to our students or to the veterinarians here, the clinicians, and I can say, this is why your brain's doing what it's doing, and here's some research, some evidence-based practices that will make you feel better, our students have a reason to believe this crazy old lady that this is actually going to work. The intersection, so that's the neuropsychology part. The sport and performance psychology part, which I've been working with talented athletes for over 20 years, is a well-developed toolkit that really gives me a lot of different strategies that build into that neuropsychology piece. So it's a very nice fit for the needs here. From a school psychology perspective, everything that I did to help work within a system to create a comprehensive service delivery model was exactly what was needed here. So I'm here not just for the students, but for faculty and staff. And as you know, you'll find me in classrooms and in the clinics and in rotations. I've been into sophomore surgery and downstairs frequently in all aspects, because in order to change some of your scary mental health statistics, mm-hmm. it has to be a comprehensive program and a comprehensive service delivery model. So my skill set matched up pretty well to your needs, and it was just great timing.
Exactly. So it's going on talking about, of course, like you said, you work with everyone, but of course the veterinary students, that's probably some that you are seeing very frequently. Because some people can say, why do we need a psychologist in the veterinary school? What would you say are like some common stressors or things that you do to help students manage being in a professional school?
So we do a lot of anxiety, performance anxiety, just walking in the door kinds of everyday stress. And so a lot of my interactions with the student has to do with how do we manage that anxiety so that they can demonstrate their skills quickly and easily. When I look at anxiety, there's also this conversation then that takes place with the clinicians When a student's hands are shaking like this, they're not available to hear the instruction, nor are they going to have access to their words to demonstrate the skills that they've taught. There are things as a clinician that you can do to measure what they've learned, even in that moment of high anxiety. And there are strategies that I can give the students that help them navigate that strategy at that moment and get access to what they have learned. So we do a lot of strategies for anxiety. There is depression that we talk about. There's a whole lot of just general health that contributes to well-being. So anytime anyone hears me talking, they know I'm going to mention movement and how critical movement is to the management of our emotions, but also for learning and memory. 20 minutes of a cardio will boost your dopamine. Dopamine is absolutely essential for the management of, for learning and for memory. Serotonin also gets improved, and serotonin is the neurotransmitter for those emotions and for the emotional regulation. You'll hear me talk about water and how water neutralizes the various aspects that are contributing that, the cortisol especially, how cortisol raises when we get stressed, and water helps neutralize that cortisol. So we talk about healthy strategies. We also do sleep management. How do you shut off your brain from being active student to brain that can go to sleep? Yeah. We talk about the benefits of taking a brain break and giving yourself permission to enjoy your family. That your brain absolutely needs that break in order for you to be a productive student or a beneficial clinician. That at that moment in time, when you're taking that break, your brain is inactively consolidating and organizing everything that you just learned, so that now when you come back to it, it's got a new place for it to go. Exactly. So all of those different aspects are things that we commonly do every day, whether it's in my office or as part of the professional development or anytime that we're talking to groups of students.
And all the things you just said, those are important things, especially here with the students in which we're dealing with. You know, they're in a professional setting. It's the rigor of courses. You know, it's a lot of anxiety. It's just a lot of hard work.
Right.
So for you, and thinking about all other professional schools, and then just all other schools, vet schools that probably don't have a psychologist like you, you can say what are the benefits of having you here, the importance of having you here?
There's immediate access.
Yeah.
So whether you have a panic attack and you can come right on into my office, we're scheduled throughout the day, but you know, so there are students that I see on a regular basis so that we can keep them with that anxiety management, but it's immediate access. And me being totally immersed into every corner of this building is what makes it easy to come and see me. When Dr. Hoblet and Dr. Smith made it possible for me to go into surgery, for me to be in the rotations, for me to be in classrooms, to be visible and be part of your day, is what allows me to understand your day and your profession and just what your stressors are. Yes. And now when I talk to clinicians or students, we're starting to talk about the lingo and exactly what they're experiencing, and I'm seeing it firsthand. And being able to go in, as I mentioned earlier, like sophomore surgery, and me be able to listen to the interaction between your teaching faculty and your students allows me to help craft language so that we can make that a less stressful situation. So it's being immersed that makes such a huge difference here.
Exactly. And this might be a topic, and I know we probably have had a conversation like this before, of veterinary medicine, we say, has the highest suicide rate. And how do we change that? And pretty much talking, we should not always say that veterinary medicine has the highest suicide rate. We need to see what's the reasoning for that. Right. So what do you say about that, but also including how you have already said the benefits of having you here and trying to make that no longer
the case.
Exactly.
Right? So when we look at your scary mental health statistics, it's not only just the high suicide rate, but you also have some pretty scary statistics when it comes to anxiety and depression. And there's also a body of literature that says less than a third of you seek help despite knowing you need that help. So some of those barriers are, there's this shame in finding someone to talk to. Even though you need help, either you don't have the time or you don't see the need to take the time, you'll figure it out on your own, or there's some level of embarrassment about needing help. By me being totally immersed, I become one of you, and so I'm easier to talk to at that point in time. There's this perception that I understand what your day is like. So it's easier to talk to someone that is out and about. And there have been times to where we've had a puzzle out on the table for them to take a brain break, and I've had students stop and talk to me over a puzzle when they wouldn't come see me in my office. So we've done a lot here to reduce that help-seeking stigma, and having snacks in my office really helps reduce that stigma, because now you could easily come to see me about a snack or about a club or about an organization or about an activity like the frog hunt that we could do that would relieve stress throughout the entire building. So people who come into my office aren't necessarily there for wellness or mental health, but it's okay to be there for any reason.
Exactly.
So, you know, that's what we're going to do. The more that we can immerse wellness and mental health throughout all of this training, the better off we are. From the very beginning, when I walked in the door, Dr. Hoblet and Dr. Smith made it known that when our students graduate practice ready, that it is our mission to make sure that they also have the skill set that they need to be able to live a long and happy life in this profession that they have chosen. And we do that by giving them the mental health skills and to engage in self-care.
Definitely. So you pretty much have told why it's important to, that mental health, of course, is important, but it's important to have you or someone like you here in this professional school. So I'm happy to have you here, and it's because it's amazing. Because, like you said, you are immersed in everything. We will see you down in the clinics. We'll see you also just in your office seeing students. But you're everywhere, and you are involved with not only our students, but also the faculty and our resident, our house officers. They also need it as well, because they're under intense training. So it's great to have you, Dr. Prince. And I'm so glad that you're here with us.
I appreciate it. I enjoy it as well. It is a very thrilling place to work. No other job site will allow me to understand the difference between horses' knees and cows' knees, or watch you float a cow, or do any of those cool things. So that is pretty cool from my perspective.
You're getting some fun out of it too. Yeah. Well, Dr. Prince, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're more than welcome.
That concludes today's episode. If you have any questions or suggestions about today's episode, do not hesitate to contact me at brittany.henderson@msstate.edu. I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you next time here on Pegasus.